You ready? All right. Look, dog, I'm extra unique. My whole aura scream talent. Top man.
Shannon Shorter, another edition of the Underrated Podcast.
I'm Dayon Dunlap Sr.
We got a very special guest, one that hit home for me, A-Leaf General, father, husband, ex-athlete, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, coaching his kids. He has his own foundation, Fendi Onobun.
What's up? What's going down?
Man, definitely appreciate you for joining us. First question always off top. In what way or how are you underrated?
Man, I feel like I'm underrated in the sense that a lot of people have always had high expectations of me. Just ever since I was a young boy, just growing up on the West and just things that I've been able to experience and the type of success I've been able to experience. But I feel like I've always been underrated because people had this expectation of me that I was supposed to be something, or I was supposed to be somebody, or I was supposed to meet the expectations of others. But they really didn't know who Fendi was. It was just like, who was he as a hooper? Who was he as the person that's 6'6" as an 8th grader or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And but they didn't know me as a person. I feel like that's how I'm underrated, man, because a lot of people didn't know just some of the struggles that I went through, some of the adversities I experienced early in life. It was just the ball, the hoop, you know what I mean? And so in that regard, man, that's how I'm underrated, man, because a lot of people didn't know who Fendi was as a person, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to express that on this podcast.
Hey, man, so this one hit home for me, like I said. You from A-Leaf, you from the West. Obviously, your name carried weight for a very long time. Can you just take us back to A-Leaf, take us through those experiences you experienced? Because everybody know from A-Leaf the temptations you face. You got the gang politics, you got the drug paraphernalia, you got the prostitutes. Anything you walk outside, you jump off the porch, you got anything you need. So what kept you level-headed? What kept you sane from doing anything that could tarnish your future? And just take us through those experiences in A-Leaf.
Man, whew. Well, first, it helps when you have a father in the household. You know what I'm saying? My dad was, anybody in A-Leaf know that, my dad did not play. My dad was at the games. My dad pulled up to the school. Growing up off Leewood, my father was present. Growing up off Stancliffe, my father was present. When I moved to Sanat, my father was present. And so he always kind of kept me in check as far as explaining it and telling me, look, if there's anything that you want to be able to achieve in your life, you have to walk a fine line. Academics and education came first. It's a lot of Nigerians in A-Leaf. Yeah. And it feel like we all had the same upbringing. You feel me? It's like my parents did not care about sports. What they cared about was how I'm doing in school and, making sure I'm taking care of my education, and then everything else came second. And so as much as the temptation with the gang life and the drugs and prostitutes or what have you, yeah, that was in the environment, that was in the community. And I even had some partners who fell short to that. But because my father was in my life, because of, that consistent figure, it kept me off that. I wasn't playing with that.
One of the other traumatic experiences that I learned about, we talked about off camera, was you were kidnapped. Kind of tell us about that experience and how that traumatic experience maybe inspired you to keep going, or how it impacted you.
Man, that was tough, man, because that happened when I was real young. So my father and my biological mother, they were going through a divorce. I was about 6 years old. And my mom, I remember one day my dad went to work. And my mom told me to pack up my things we was going to the beach, for my birthday or whatever. It was right after my birthday. And so I'm excited. I've always wanted to go to the beach. So he told me to pack our things up. And we was living at Leewood at the time, Leewood condominiums over there on Bissonnette and Leewood 9700. And, I packed up my stuff. But something ain't really seemed right, bro. She was pack your things up. And I remember she gave me a comforter bag and was put your stuff in there, and was telling me to pack up my Nintendo and my ball, all type of stuff that just didn't make sense if you going to the beach. But I was my mom, so I did what she said, and we hop in the cab, man, and we dipped. And next thing I know, we was on a Greyhound bus headed west to Las Vegas. And so even, being out there, we was couch surfing. Staying, going from motel to motel, we was clearly on the run, you know what I mean? And this was 90, 93. So it's not like you got cell phones, you don't have no type of tracking device. The only lead my dad had was at Leewood. They had a security guard. Any car that would come in and come out their property, they had the license plate. That was the only lead that my dad had to even find us. But it took a while. You know, he had to go through private eyes, investigators, police. And during that time, bro, you know, we was homeless. We was on the streets. We was couch surfing, staying with random people, had a gun pulled on us, all type of stuff. And then I ended up in Child Protective Services when police finally was able to get a hold of us. And it was a scary experience, bro. Like, I didn't know if I'd ever see my dad again. I didn't know if I'd ever, you know, see my friends again. I didn't know if I'd be dead or alive. Like, I'm living on the street. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, looking for food on the street, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, to experience that at 6 years old, you can imagine the type of trauma that could put into a child. And so that affected me later in life with just like trust issues, abandonment issues, a lot of things that I had to work through that I wasn't aware of. You know, thank God for therapy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like those unresolved issues affected me in other ways that could have been detrimental.
So, like, you just brought up therapy because of your traumatic experiences that you went through. I feel like in the Black community, I guess you could say, like, the men look at therapy as like, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, soft. You don't need it.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, how was that like transition for you? Obviously, you have a book called Transition, but we're gonna get into that. But how was that transition for you to like say, okay, I do need this. Let me help myself.
It was hard, bro, because I subscribe to the same ideology.
Okay.
You know, like I was like, I don't need no therapist for what? Ain't nothing wrong with me, you know. But when you have people in your life who recognize patterns and behaviors, and when you act a certain way, when you're triggered by certain things, and you keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and it could be detrimental to your life, you need someone to be like, hey, you need to go talk to somebody about this. Like, you need to go see somebody about this. And like, I think the thing that hit me the most, this is when I realized I needed it, because I was in Seattle. I was in Seattle with the Seahawks on their practice squad, and my biological mother was living in Seattle at the time, and I hadn't seen her since the kidnapping. Like, cops took me away, put me in the car, took me to CPS. They took her away, and that was the last time I saw her at 6 years old. And so I'm in Seattle, and she's there, and she, like, we would communicate. Like, later in life, we got back and communicated, but I had never seen her. And then when it was my last day in Seattle, it was like an injury type situation, wave injured, whatever, you know, little settlement, and I was gonna be on my way. It was my last day in Seattle, and she had been wanting to see me. I didn't want to see her. I really didn't want to see her, because even though at the time I was like 24, I felt like that 6-year-old kid. And I was just like scared to go see her because I didn't know what was going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, but I pulled up, I went to go see her, drove my little Mercedes over there, and she told me to come inside the house. I wouldn't go inside the house. I would not step foot in her house. And I berated her with questions. Like, we talking about 15, 17-year gap where we did not see each other, did not hear from her, no phone call, no birthday card, nothing, right? Like, and again, I had to go through that, I had to work through this in therapy, just learning and trying to recognize and realize where she was coming from her perspective. But in the moment, I was just berating her with questions, bro, and like, I wouldn't get no answers, bro. Like, I needed closure, and I wouldn't get no closure. And so I just remember, like, in the car, just like weeping, bro, like boo-hoo crying, like trying to figure out why it went down like this. And then that's when I was like, man, I need to see somebody about this, because it's affecting my relationships. It's affecting the way I treat people. It's affecting how I feel about myself. And that was hard, bro. It was hard, but I'm glad I did it for the simple fact that I was able to have more awareness and emotional intelligence in regards to my situation with my tea lady. So God rest her soul. She's no longer living, but I'm grateful that we were able to mend the relationship and have a sense of understanding. And I can look at the situation from being kidnapped and why things went the way they did from a clearer perspective.
To kind of tie it back in, you get back with your father. When did some normalcy begin? Because like we learned off camera, you was a child prodigy at a young age in A-Leaf. So when did that kind of form about you kind of pick up the ball and kind of begin to kind of have some normalcy in your life?
So actually, my dad put me in basketball to help me overcome the trauma I had experienced in Las Vegas. So I didn't play sports until I came back. I loved basketball growing up. You know what I'm saying? Like growing up in the 90s, watching the Bulls and the Rockets or what have you. But I actually never played organized ball until he got me back. Knowing that I had went through that, he was like, you know what, I'm going to just put him in some sports and put me in basketball. And I wasn't very good starting off. I was big, but I wasn't very good. But that was my love. That was my first love. Like after going through that and like the fear of just what I experienced, I was so happy to be back with my dad. But I was also so happy to be playing a sport that I didn't know that I loved so much. And like it was just all basketball ever since then. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way through and through. It was hoops. And so that was like my focus. So even what I went through back in the day, I wouldn't worry about none of that because I had basketball. And it kept me busy. I played winter, I played summer, I played Quillian League, YMCA. And I would just get better and better and better and better. And I knew at a very early age that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
So you let's fast forward a little bit. You played on some legendary basketball teams, AAU teams. A-Leaf Taylor had some legendary teammates. Martellus Bennett, Nick Wise, David Devison. The list goes on. How did that help you in your competitive nature and just seeing like the other guys that you felt like was up to par with you? How did that help your competitive nature and just want you to the want to inside of you to keep going?
Man, being able to play with talent like that, like it's special because it's like you would play at school, right? And respectfully, like, you know what I mean? Like they putting the most athletic kids on the team, on your school team, and you do what you can, but then you go to summer ball or you go to AAU and you got the top 5 players in the city on your team, or you playing against the top 10 players in the state. It's a next level. It's like, okay, I got to be able to do this if I want to go play D1. Mm-hmm. And it shifted my mindset in regards like, okay, look, Cass is working.
Yeah.
Like they not just going to practice. Like they getting up early. They staying late. They getting up shots. They doing extra workouts. They going to Lucas. You know what I'm saying? Like these are if you want to be at this level, this is what they doing.
Yeah.
So understand, like, it ain't gonna be just, okay, your school team practice and then you go home.
Yeah.
Nah, like, what are you doing before school? What are you doing after school? What extra workouts are you doing? So being able to play with that level of competition, it exposed me to the level of work that it takes if you want to be at that next level. That's what it did. Hooping with Martellus, and me and Martellus went to school together. So, like, just being able to see how he was working, and he played both sports. You know what I'm saying? He did football and basketball. Playing with David, playing with Nick Wise, Jermichael Finley, Rashad Woods. I mean, like, the list goes on. There's so many cats in Houston that were quality players that played at the top level. Like, these are the things that they was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within that, when I know you said you saw the work, when did you actually implement the work for you to actually take you to that next level to know that, okay, I belong?
I saw the work. I implemented the work, I would say, sophomore year. I'll never forget, we was in Las Vegas for a basketball tournament. And we had North Carolina, Duke, UCLA, Arizona. I'm talking about like all the blue bloods watching us play, right, in the tournament. You see Coach K, Coach Olsen, you know what I'm saying? Like Roy Williams, like these are people that you see. Bill Self, right? He was at Kansas. Like these are people that you see, and it was like, okay, like, and our coach, like we had a bad game. We didn't play well, and our coach is telling us like you have a small window of opportunity, small window. If you're not it, they're gonna go to the next player, right? You have a small window to make the most of your opportunity when you play in front of these coaches, and you know, getting invited to camps or not getting invited to camps, right? Like, that was another thing. Like, there's certain camps that you want to go to and you don't get the invitation, you feel slighted. Well, there's a reason why they didn't pick you. So it's like, all right, well, I got to put the work in if I expect to be at this level. And so when you talk about seeing the work and implementing, I would say my sophomore year, like when I started playing against, like on the EYBL, you know, circuit, it wasn't called EYBL back then. It was just called the circuit. But you see who the nicest players are coming out of Florida, nicest players coming out of DC, nicest players coming out the West. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to understand, like, if you ain't trying to get embarrassed, like this the type of work it's gonna take. And so I implemented it my sophomore year, and things took off for me.
So we like to say some on the pod, exposure leads to expansion. So was that moment for you where you was exposed to what could take you to the next level? And to piggyback off that question, what made you choose Arizona? I believe, did you pick Arizona before your senior year? Or did you? Okay. You committed at a young age, right?
Yeah, I committed as a junior.
Okay.
I committed as a junior. I mean, I was getting recruited as an 8th grader. So for me, I just kind of wanted to dead it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I can go into my senior year already focused on, I know the school that I'm going to, and just work on getting better. But yeah, exposure expands expectations. Being able to play at that level, being able to see the type of competition that you're playing against in the summer, you can kind of rate yourself and see where you are. And if you really about this life, I want to go, like, you want the smoke. You want to play against the best in the country to see where you fall. And I committed to Arizona for the simple fact that they had an NBA pro style offense. And they had success of sending guys to the league. They sent Andre Iguodala. They sent Channing Frye. You know, obviously, you know, you go way back to RJ, Richard Jefferson, Mike Bibby. Like, it was a pipeline, and my goal was to go to the NBA. So I wanted to play with the best. You know what I mean? And so, and you know, there was also a lot of Houston guys there. So Jawan McClellan had committed there. Even in 2003, there's a cat named Indy Eby.
Yeah.
He didn't go. He went out of high school, but he committed there. Josh Pastner was a coach there, and he's from Houston. And so it was a little pipeline from Houston to Tucson, and then Nick Wise ended up going there in 06. And so I just felt like that would have been the best decision for me to be able to achieve my dreams to go play in the NBA. And so that's why I chose Arizona.
You get there. What's the experience like from child prodigy, high school, you the man. Now you're at a college where everybody coming from high school where they're the man. What's it like to integrate yourself? Like, I know you play with AAU with a lot of highly talented players, but in college, within the system, with a legendary coach that you played under, what was that experience like?
Listen, bro, that's a great question. So I remember my freshman year, I get there, and we playing pickup. You know, I get there in the summer. You know how it is. You get there in the summer, you enroll in summer classes, you playing pickup. And I thought I was working hard in high school. Like, I thought. And then in college, I was like, oh, they really love hoop. Like, they really love basketball here. Like, they playing like 4, 5, 6 times a day. You know what I mean? I'm like, do we have a moment to just chill? Like, it was workouts, it was weights, it was film, it was pickup, it was shoot around, it was extra shots. I'm like, bro, it was another level, right? And again, that just wasn't a level that I wasn't experiencing. You know what I'm saying? This is D1 college. You know what I'm saying? Like, boys had managers. Yeah. Like, boys had managers where, like, hey, you know, I get my shots up at, 5:30, and then I'm coming back after my first 2 classes at 10. Then I'm gonna come do my weights, and then we got practice, and then I'm come back and get extra shots and do another workout, and then I'm gonna do another. It's just like, okay, this is what it takes. So it's like, if you go to a school like that, it's either you gonna get better or you gonna get better. Like, you have no choice because of the level of competition that you're playing against. Like, I got better guarding Hassan Adams. I got better guarding Jawan McClellan. I got better playing against Jordan Hill. I got better playing against Chase Budinger. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the elite type of athletes that were going to those type of schools, and like, you have no choice but to get better. You know, unfortunately for me, I didn't make it to the league, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean that I was I was trash. Like, I was at Arizona. It was just, it's the cream of the crop. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's the cream of the crop. And I remember my freshman year, they redshirted me. They redshirted me my freshman year. And then they pulled my red shirt halfway through the season. We had some guys that was dealing with some grade issues. And obviously, I mean, looking back, people are like, you shouldn't have pulled your red shirt. You shouldn't have pulled your red shirt. Like, you lost half a year. But I had improved so much. Mm-hmm. They were like, hey, we got to play this kid. Yeah. Like, he's gotten better. Yeah. Because I came in as a tweener. And if you know anything about a tweener, that's a person who don't really have a true position. Like, you play the 4, but you kind of undersized, but you're really a 3, and you don't really handle the ball, but you can get to your spot. You got a good jump shot, right? I was a tweener, and they were trying to turn me into a 3 guard. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they redshirted me. But I had improved so much, they pulled the red shirt, And I played the back half of the season. Now, looking back retrospectively, that red shirt was the year that gave me my opportunity to play football. Had I kept that red shirt, I wouldn't have had a chance to play football. And we wouldn't be calling me the former NFL, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they pulled that red shirt, which gave me the 5th year to play football my 5th year, go to U of H, and the rest is history.
So that transition from loving basketball, wanting to go to the league, this is my vision, this is my dream since I'm 12, 13, 14, you do 4 years at Arizona. When did it shift for you like, okay, the league ain't gonna happen. I don't want to go overseas, so I'm gonna go to U of H, do this football thing, try this out, and then see what happens. When did that shift happen?
That was tough, Shan. I felt like, and I talk about this in my book. It was like I was wrestling. It felt like I was wrestling with God, bro, because I'm like, this is all I ever wanted to do. Like, I didn't even watch football, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't care about football. I didn't know football. I didn't know the difference between a kickoff return and a punt return.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget the conversation that I had with David Griffin, he was general manager of the Phoenix Suns at the time. And I had an injury my junior year, and I did an internship with the Suns where I was like, you know, I got a chance to see like the back office of the NBA. I was like, hey, if I don't make it in the league, I would love to work in basketball operations in some capacity. I want to be around the game in some capacity. If I'm not good enough to play, maybe I could be, you know, a GM one day or whatever, right? So I would try to leverage the relationship that we had through Arizona to go work back office for the Suns. So I got to see the whole draft process. I got to see the scouting process. I got to see how that works. And David Griffin was like, Fendi, if you don't make it to the NBA, you would be a hell of a football player, but you don't ever want to be in a position to where you look back and you say, man, I wonder if I would have, right? Like, you never want to look back. If the opportunity's presented to you and it don't work, at least you tried. But to have the opportunity presented to you and you don't try, and you be 10 years, 15 years down the road and be like, man, I wonder what would have happened if I would have. You don't want that type of regret. And he was like, this is not about love. This is a business decision. You have a chance to go play in the NFL. You never played football before, and you thinking about it? This can change your life. It's a business decision. You got basketball. Basketball ain't going. Belgium ain't going nowhere. If it don't work out for you, go to Belgium and work your way up. But to have a scout say, hey, we want to give you a shot at the NFL, and you've never played, boy, you better take that. And so that's when the mentality shift for me changed, because it's like, okay, it's a business decision. Like, so right then and there, I had the agent, I had the contract, I was getting ready to go to Belgium, play in the league, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna roll the dice, I'm gonna give it a shot. And then spoke to U of H, and the tight ends coach was like, he actually had coached in the league, he coached with the Panthers, and I had put together like a little YouTube video, and he was like, look, son, I know you're a little green behind the ears, but I promise you, if you listen to everything I tell you for 1 year, you will get drafted. I promise you. And I said, say less. So that's when it was for me. When I had that conversation with David Griffin, and it went from love to business. Right? You're a grown man, you graduated, like, this is how the world operates. This is a business decision. That's what I did.
I'm a Houston alum, and you played with a Houston great, Case Keenum.
Yeah.
What was that time like as you learned football, listening to your coach, and you learning the game, and you playing with the high-power offense? Dana Holgerson's the OC. What was that time like at Houston actually playing the game? Man,
Case was great, man. Like, Case was great. Just welcoming me in, like the way he welcomed me in, teaching me the offense, learning all the signals. We had a no-huddle offense. So it was like, everything was like hand signals. Everything was hand signals. But I had like a little package. So I had like a little naked bootleg. I had a little pop, route in the red zone. A lot of backside zone plays that I was blocking. A lot of, it was just a small package. But man, him, Tyron Carrier, who's coaching now, Justin Johnson, who's also coaching as well. Man, they were really helpful in just teaching me the game, man. Like, really just, wrapping their arms around me and saying, hey, man, we got you, big dog. Like, we know you ain't never played before. We're going to teach you how to play, blocking, hand placement, routes. You know, like I try to run like a little basic route or whatever, and I look like I was doing a stutter step. You know what I'm saying? It's just like little things like that. And they would pull me to the side. We'll watch film. And it was good, man, just to be in that environment. And it's so different from basketball, like culturally.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like basketball, you got your 12, 15 guys. You know what I'm saying? You got your little squad or whatever. And it's just a different energy. I remember being at U of H for our first game. And man, guys was like doing the smelling salt. They banging the lockers. They slamming chairs. It was crazy. I was like, oh, y'all different. Like this, I'm not used to this kind of energy. It's just a little different. But they embraced me, man, and I had a hell of a time doing it. And then, you know, I feel forever indebted to that program for giving me an opportunity as a walk-on, you know, to change my life and meet my new dream of making it to the NFL.
So I got a question. So like, what was do you feel like your emotion when you got your NFL contract would have been the same as getting drafted to the NBA? Or was it like a different type of feel?
I was excited that I got, bro, listen, no football experience.
Right.
None.
Like none.
Real story.
I mean, I played in 7th grade, but that's, you know, you know what I'm saying? No football experience, bro. Like, no stats.
Factual.
You know what I'm saying? A walk-on. Now, I'm 6'6", I'm big, I'm strong, I'm fast, you know what I'm saying? I got the measurables, like, but no football experience. And I get drafted?
Yeah.
Like, you gonna hit me with a 6-figure signing bonus? Bro, you serious? Bro, I was lit. I couldn't believe it. It was just like, you know, I mean, obviously, I would have been extremely excited if I would have got drafted into the NBA. Like, that was something I dreamed about ever since I was a little kid. You know, but it's like that expectation too, right? Like, this is what I expected. Like, I belong here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Football, you could have told me and be like, look, bro, 100%, I'm telling you, you would have came from the future, be like, young Fendi, you gonna be in the NFL. I'd be like, bro, you are the devil. Who are you? And get the hell away from me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just was never in my thought process. And so to answer your question, like, it's different for sure, but like, I was just extremely excited that this don't happen to a lot of people. You know what I mean? It don't happen to a lot of people. So,
Real life.
So yeah, man, that was crazy. I was just the joy, the excitement, the surprise, and the testament, bro, to the hard work. Because like, call it what you want. Oh, you was at, you know, U of H for 1 year or 6 months and you got picked up because of measurables. Bro, it's still a testament to the hard work to be able to leave a sport, go to a new school, learn the offense, play a game you never played before, and then still be good enough to where scouts even are willing to take a shot and give you a chance.
Yeah.
It's a lot that has to happen, you know what I'm saying, to actually get your name called. I didn't go to no combine, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was at the Yeoman Fieldhouse running on that god-awful turf they had back there, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was faux. Yeah. But, you know, my point is, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, it's crazy. Praise God.
You talked about earlier in your life how education was always first. In freshman year, some athletes was dealing with having study issues. Obviously, you didn't have that issue because you was able to burn that red shirt and play, like you said. Within that great period after Arizona, going to UH, when did you begin to have that mindset and start thinking about what's next after sports? I know you're going to have an NFL career, but there was a great moment within that time to where if you didn't make that business decision to take a shot and put yourself in position to be in it, to get drafted, what was that mindset? When did you begin to think that? Because I know it's important as athletes to be able to find the identities within themselves and recreate themselves. So how was that process like for you? And I know that's something that you big on as far as touching athletes and even the youth.
Yeah, that's a loaded question, but let me see if I can break it down. So I think just given the foundation that my father had always set for me, sports would be the vehicle, right? Like sports is the vehicle as far as like the talent that you're blessed with or the talent that you've learned to be able to play something at a high level. but sports will end one day, right? And so you don't want to be no dummy, right? You don't want to be someone that people can take advantage of you. And I hate to say this, but the saying goes, you want to hide something from a black person, you put it in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just something that my father just instilled early. And so I was always thinking about other things that I could get into if sports didn't work out. I knew I would reach out to Nike to see if they had internship opportunities. When I was at Arizona, I would work at different places just to get experience. I would network. I would, build relationships. And like I said, even when I was injured, I did an internship with the Phoenix Suns. Like I was always thinking about like, hey, if this doesn't work out, how can I still be involved in the game? And I think as athletes, a lot of times we ask ourselves, what am I going to do when that time comes? Instead of, and I feel like instead of asking yourself, what am I going to do? You ask yourself, what can I do? Like, what can I do? And for me, like, I know I love helping people. So whether that was coaching, whether that's mentoring, whether that's, consulting, whether that's using my experience as an athlete and helping other athletes, or being some type of liaison for pro athletes, like whatever, I always knew that I would be involved in some shape or form helping people. That really came to me a little bit after basketball, but more so like when my football career ended and I was like, okay, what can I do? And it took some time, bro, because even when I was trying to play football, like the goal was to leave. Like I didn't leave, pass up on the contract in Belgium and, walk on in Houston just to give it a shot. Like, no, the plan, the main objective was league. It was league or nothing, right? There was a business decision. And so even if that wouldn't have happened, then I would have gone back into my mode as far as like looking at contacts and relationships and things that I've built over time. But it really hit me when my career ended in 2015, when I was like, I was asking myself like, okay, what am I going to do? All right. I'm saying you should say, what can you do? But that took years of like learning after going through the experience. But in the moment I was like, what am I going to do? And it was tough. It was tough because my career did not end on my terms. It ended through injury. And I was like, is this it? Is it over?
Yeah.
Like, what next? And so linking up with Toad, you know what I'm saying? And just really trying to find out where I can add value and bring purpose to what I feel like I was called to do. And I would host free football camps. I would host free basketball camps. Working with the youth, we do drives. And like, I realized that I felt something when I was able to give back to my community. I felt inspired. I felt empowered when I was able to serve. And so I knew in my heart that I have a servant's heart. I want to serve the people. And that's kind of what led into, I didn't really get into motivational speaking like at that point, but you like looking back retrospectively, you can see there were moments in my life where I was doing that and just inspiring people and helping, especially young people. And as I've grown and gotten older and kind of fine-tune myself and how I can add value to people's lives, that's the lane that I eventually took, through camps, through, consulting, through, working with kids and sharing my struggles. I feel like you are called to speak to the people that you once used to be.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Say that.
Right? Like the things that you struggle with, those are the people who need to hear from you because you know how to overcome them.
That's a good word.
You feel me? Yeah. And so it's kind of worked its way out in a very interesting way.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, man, like I truly feel like I'm operating my purpose by, working with the youth and helping people become better versions of themselves.
Hey man, so like this is more like a twofold question, and it's gonna piggyback off exactly like what you said. So you said when you got injured, basically you was asking yourself and questioning within yourself, like, is this it? What am I gonna do next? So can you, because obviously you're a motivational speaker now, Fendi speaks. So can you speak to the people about the conversations you have with yourself when you in them dark moments? And I say that because obviously I like to read the Bible a little bit, and I like the story about the prodigal son, and I always realize like he talked himself into a situation, and he also talked himself out of a situation. And he talked himself out of a situation with the conversation he had with himself. When he came to the realization, like, nah, it's only you. You did this. It ain't nobody's fault. You the reason you in the pig pen. But before that, he was approaching his father saying, "Give me, give me, give me."
Yeah.
So can you just speak to the words you say to yourself when you in them low moments and how they can be powerful and uplifting?
When I'm in, so speaking back to that moment specifically, when I'm dealing with the injury and trying to figure out what's next, where am I going to go? Truth be told, bro, I told myself that when I got out of my pity party, I told myself that I know whatever it is I'm going to do, I want to help people. You know, I'm working out, spending time in the gym. You know, I want to help people become better. And it was really like doing the football camps, doing the youth camps, helping people, just encouraging them and like enlightening them. And bro, it was like, bro, the more I served, I got involved with the church. Like, it was like, bro, it was like the more I served, the more I helped, the more clarity that God gave me into the direction that I need to be living my life. It's so weird. It's like we be so focused on ourselves, thinking about like, what am I going to do? But when you put that attention on other people, bro, like, it's like, it just comes naturally, bro. It just comes naturally. It was like in relationships and people that you meet, and, you know, you might meet somebody who knows somebody that can lead you to something else. And it's like, bro, like, I'm gonna be good regardless because of who I am. Mm-hmm. You got to know who you are, right? If you don't know who you are, then you can fall for anything.
Yeah.
And as long as you know who you are and whose you are, bro, everything else will take care of itself. I've been walking in my purpose. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so that's the most gratifying thing for me, because when I look back at how everything went down, like, it went down the way it was supposed to go down, bro, because that's the way God had it. So that's just what I believe.
Let's talk about the book, because I feel like your experience you had was like probably the blueprint for the book coming about. Your experiences that you experienced through life, the being kidnapped, the traumas you face, being injured, now you're having to deal with that and just try to find yourself and find a new identity, so to speak. And the book is called Transition. Can you just dive into that a little bit, and let's just let the masses know what you're trying to accomplish with that book?
Yeah, so Transition, One Kid's Bank Shot to the NFL. It's my project. It's my life story. It chronicles the journey of me going as a young kid with NBA aspirations, and trying to achieve his dreams, to, you know, where God throws a wrench and I'm introduced an opportunity to play football in the NFL, underlined by the story of my childhood, being kidnapped by my biological mother. And so the premise of the story is, it doesn't matter what hardships you go through. If you have the right mindset, you can achieve whatever it is that you want, right? Like, so even if it doesn't go the way as planned, right? Like, even if it, like, my plan was to always make it to the NBA, but sometimes, like, things will happen in life where they won't go as planned. But if you have some principles, some values that you lean on, that you stand on, 10 toes down, it don't matter if I'm in this vehicle or this vehicle, I'm always going to be a person of character. Okay. Right? It don't matter if I'm, you know, in this space or that space, I'm always going to be a hard worker. I'm gonna have a great work ethic, right? I'm always going to believe in myself. Like, it don't matter what it is, like basketball or football or the real world or corporate America, what have you. Like, I am who I am because I lean on my values. Yeah. And I feel like if you look at my story, you see that it doesn't matter if it was football or basketball, kidnapped or not, CPS or whatever. Like, because I was able to have a vision for myself and I had some values and some principles that I stood on, I was able to get to where I needed to get to. I was always going to get there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It was just a matter of how I got there. And it's because of those values that I lean on, of hard work, of character, of, you know what I'm saying, believing in yourself, of, you know, not giving up. Like, all these type of things that people already know. It's easy to understand, but difficult to apply. You have to do the application. And once you apply that, the rest is history. That's what I believe.
Stand on those values. Your father's an entrepreneur. Talking about how, I think that kind of ties into your foundation, how that helps you build those values and the core of how he inspired you and showed you of working for self, hiring family, and all that entails with being an entrepreneur. I'll let you tell it, how that inspired you to who you are and what you're doing today.
Yeah, man. My father was my first example. of a man. He was my first example of an entrepreneur. I mean, he came here on a soccer and track scholarship in the 70s with, you know, $5 to his name. And, you know, just his work ethic, like I've just, the way I've seen him work has just been unbelievable. I mean, to be able to come here as an immigrant and live the American dream, you know, work for self, do for self, hire family. My two younger brothers are working with him. We got a family business that does very well and I mean, he's expanding. We got a location in Dallas, got a location in Atlanta. We talking about DC. And so my dad's 70 years old, man. And his motivation has always been like, his father didn't leave him with anything. So he wanted to make sure that when his time is up, that he has something for us. Mm-hmm. And that's his why, right? And just to understand that he moves the way he does because he has a why. He's very clear on what his mission is, and he enjoys it. You know what I'm saying? It's very inspiring. His work ethic, I've never seen anybody work harder than him. Mm. And it's truly admirable to see like how he goes about his life. He gives back. He's a caring man. He's a nice man. He's fair. He's firm, but he's fair. And as I've gotten older, as a man now, you know, I truly respect his values, and I'm just grateful that I had him in my life, because a lot of people don't have, you know, that type of stability or even presence in a man in their life. Yeah.
You're a father now.
I am.
Tying that into your seeds, how is it being a father and not only coaching your son as well? So that's a two-part question.
Man, I love it. I absolutely love it. Man, my boys, Prince, Fendi, I just love being a dad, man. I feel like I'm living a dream. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like being able to watch them grow, do life with them, experience life with them, teach them hard lessons, love on them, coach them. I'm truly, truly living the dream, man. And my beautiful wife, you know, God bless her, Stephanie, you know, blessing our family with these two amazing boys. And it could be a lot, man. I ain't gonna lie, it could be a lot. It can be a lot, but I love those little boys with every soul, spirit, breath in my body, my wife, and just being able to watch them grow and understanding that I'm responsible for them and preparing them, you know, because they will be young black men one day. Mm-hmm. And it is on me to make sure that I prepare them as such, because it's not easy out here for us, and that's just keeping it above. You know what I mean? And so it's fun, it's cute when they 5 and 4, but one day they're gonna be 15 and 14 and 25 and 24, and they're gonna have to understand the reality of life, but also create a space to where they're not afraid to speak their mind, and they know who they are, and they can't just let any old body talk to them any type of way. That they're sound mentally, emotionally, physically, so that they can be, you know, productive men in society.
So let me follow up with that real quick. As far as identity, you're Nigerian, and with us being African American, we have African American identities, but our African identity was stolen from us. So with you having that identity within yourself, teaching your son's identity, how important is that? Not only when you talk to the youth, how much do you speak to them, or what's your viewpoint on having an identity, finding it, however it may come about? What's your viewpoint on that and the importance of that? Because you're not only important to your son, but also the other youths who come from maybe an African American background like myself and Shannon.
That's a good question. So yes, it feels good to know exactly where I come from, the family, the tribe, you know, my father. Shout out to my Edo people. But when I do speak to the youth, and we do talk about identity, we actually talk about identity in my core leadership program. It's actually the first section in the program. Okay. Because before we move on to emotional intelligence, core principles, you know, character development, you have to know who you are, right? You have to know who you are. Yeah. And a lot of times, especially when you're working with, you know, middle school age, high school age students, they don't know who they are. They're still trying to find themselves out or figure themselves out. And a lot of times it will be based on how other people see them. Mm-hmm. I just spoke this past week at the A-Leaf Youth Expo, and I shared a story with them, and I said, you know, everybody will look at me like, man, you got it all, man. I wish I had it like you. And then I told him, I said, I realized on the outside, I looked like I had it all together, but on the inside, I was really struggling because I didn't know who I was. And I said, that's when I had to figure out that you can't live your life based on how other people see you.
Yeah.
You got to live your life based on how you see yourself. Because if you're always looking for that external validation, then when somebody's feeling you one way, you're gonna feel this way, and when they're not feeling you, you're gonna feel that way. So you have to know who you are and what you identify with. And so, in the first part of our program, we literally give them a word bank of words that, hey, which words best identify with you? And if you don't like any of these words, you choose your own words. You set the tone for how you want to be identified.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna identify you as such because it's important. We want them to understand that people don't control how they identify you. You control how you identify you.
Do you feel like you have a what's the word I'm looking for? Like allegiance to A-Leaf and the uplifting of the youth in etc. Like, do you feel like that's on your shoulders, so to speak? And how important is it for you to be able to be that face and just uplift the youth and A-Leaf, and not even just A-Leaf, but all over the city of Houston? But I feel like your main bullet point is A-Leaf.
I don't know if it's an allegiance or more so just like purpose, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people in our community that feel like there's no way out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? There's people that truly feel like I'm gonna be just like my dad. I'm gonna be just like my mom. She living in Section 8. We're gonna be in Section 8. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case, there's people who really believe that, and there's examples all over that made it out.
Yeah.
It's possible, right? Like, you got to get around the right people. You know what I'm saying? You got to have the right mindset. Maybe, that requires some talent. But it's possible.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like I truly feel compelled to let these young people know that it's possible. Like, you can do it. Yes, it's going to take some discipline. Yes, you got to be a person of character. But also, we expect you to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's how you get better. And I just feel like it's part of my call, it's part of my purpose to tell these kids that don't, just because of your family dynamic, because of your socioeconomic situation, because of who your mama, who your daddy, or whatever the situation is, don't feel like that you can't become anything because you don't know what you can be tomorrow.
Amen.
You feel me? And so I just feel compelled and to operate in that purpose. You know what I'm saying? A-Leaf is because that's the hood. That's the crib. Like, that's where I come from. So I feel
the holy Mecca.
I just feel driven to go there. But my message anywhere, all over the country, is that it's possible, but you have to have some guiding principles to get you there.
Amen.
Yeah.
So
one more question, last couple questions. I'm hearing you talk a lot about networking and building relationships. How important is that to you, and how important is that for everyone to network and establish good relationships and not burn bridges?
It's real important. Connection is currency. Connection is currency. I'm going to be at UT next week, and I'll be talking to about 100, Black college student athletes about the importance of using college as a launching pad to build your relationships and networks. Listen, to the people that be like, I'm one deep, solo, like I did it on my own. All right, whatever. Nah, bro. Like, people achieve success with the help of others.
Yes.
Like, I believe that no one does it on their own. Like, in order to get to where you've been to, it took some people in your life, right? Like, yeah, you had the skill set, you had the breaks, you did the work, but if you didn't have that call from your coach, or, your teammate didn't have an agent, right? Like, and if you didn't have that relationship, or if you was a trash teammate, they probably wouldn't have looked out, right? And so it's like, I firmly believe that, relationships and networks and contacts is currency, bro. Like, your network is your net worth. I truly believe that. And so I'm always being cognizant of the people that I'm connecting with, not for what can they do for me, but what can I do for them? I want to be able to add value. When you can add value to people's lives, like, you have value within yourself.
So, like, we always like to end the episode with just asking our guests, what would you tell your younger self? How would you self-reflect? Like, what is something that hindsight 2020 you would do different? Like, you can just, the floor is yours.
What I would tell my younger self, man, just believe in yourself. believe in yourself. You're going to do great things, young boy. Believe in yourself. Don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. Keep going. Don't give up. But most importantly, believe in yourself. Because I feel like as a young boy, I really struggled with confidence. And, you know, thank God that I've been able to experience the things that I've been able to experience, but like, don't look for anybody else's approval. Look for your own. You know what I'm saying? You believe in yourself and everything else take care of itself.
Amen.
Yeah.
Fendi, I got a lot of love and appreciation for you, bro. You from A-Leaf, you from the crib. This go a long way with me and my co-host Dayon. That's love for sure, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, dog.
And just always just jumping down with me. This go a long way, bro. Real
Appreciate
talk.
you, dog. Appreciate you. My pleasure. Thank you, bro.
Appreciate you having us. Hit that like, subscribe button. This is going to be one of my favorite episodes. The gems that he dropped. Be sure to tap in. More to come.
Underrated podcast.